Tom Keesee won't be going to trial on November 18th, and he's out on bond, so he gets to have Thanksgiving at home with his family. I am going to give you a recap. I'm going to tell you where we're going from here, and I'll keep you updated on any developments that come up on this case. If you've been watching me, you know that I did a video on November 6th. I did that right after I watched the hearing that was held that day. And that hearing was held because on November 3rd, Tom's attorney filed two motions. One motion was a motion to compel disclosure of Brady material, and the other was a motion to reduce bond. So let's just talk about that reduction of bond motion. That was talked about second in the hearing, but as you all know, Tom is out now because his bond was reduced, despite the fact that there were no change in circumstances. He had been in jail since April 18th, since Good Friday, and his bond was a $2 million cash bond. But in conjunction with that motion to reduce bond, his attorney argued that he had a motion to compel the disclosure of Brady material. And we heard, if you heard me or anyone else reporting on it, or you listened in on that hearing or was actually there live, you know that his attorney argued that he recently received an email at the end of October indicating that two of the victims had a recording between them, and potentially he wanted to investigate whether this was impeachment evidence, alleging that they were conspiring or whatever it was. Okay, we don't know what it was. What he said doesn't make it so. It's what he was alleging. Those are just statements he was making on the record. Okay, we don't know sitting here right now what that recording was, and it seemed to me that it wasn't a big deal just watching the response by the prosecutor. It didn't seem like it was a big deal. However, at that hearing, the judge did tell both attorneys that they should talk about it amongst themselves and figure this out. But he also said to the defense attorney, if you need to file a motion to continue, do so. At that time, I knew, November 6th, I knew that this was going to get continued more likely than not. Of course, there's always the possibility that it would have gone on November 18th, but I really did anticipate that his attorney was going to file a motion. And this is why his client was now out of jail. So why rush to the courthouse? Why rush to do a jury trial? You got him out. Now he's out. He's out for Thanksgiving. He's out for Christmas. He's out for the holidays. And we don't have a date yet set by the court for a new jury trial. Instead, we have this hearing that came up on the docket today for December 29th. Now, that's a Monday. I know that date because I have a medical procedure that morning. So I'm hoping I can talk later that day. I hope so. But in any event, I anticipate that it's likely going to be just like the one on November 6th, which was open to the public, and they'll have a Zoom link, and I'll get on that and listen to it, and I'll report back. But here's the thing about that hearing. On the docket, it is entitled oral hearing. Now, every jurisdiction court, they have their own terminology. I'm used to seeing motion on, whatever, or hearing on whatever motion. Sorry, the other way. So hearing on motion to compel, hearing on motion to dismiss, hearing on motion to strike, whatever that is. This one doesn't have that. It's not linked to anything, at least not today. Now, if it does change, of course, I'll report that when I have more stuff, and not just that. If there's something more, I will. But it just says oral hearing. And if there's an evidentiary hearing, typically that's where evidence is going to be brought in. So I would typically see, that's how I do it with the area of law I practice in. It'll say evidentiary hearing, and then it'll say what it is about. This one doesn't say anything. It just says oral hearing. So we're kind of at a loss right now. I suspect that it is linked back to that motion that was filed on November 3rd, which was the motion to compel disclosure of Brady material. And if so, could this be an evidentiary hearing where witnesses are called in, or at least Detective Cook, because he is the one that's linked to the email. It said that the victim emailed him and said, hey, here's the recordings that I talked to you about previously, and referred back to January. So, yeah, there could be some discovery in that there's an evidentiary hearing. We're going to find out what that is, or it could just be oral argument. We could just see that, which was exactly what we saw on November 6th. We shall see. So right now, nothing has changed. Okay. Tom still has 32 felony counts against him, and 13 of those are felony ones. They are all 13 punishable by up to life in prison. So that hasn't changed. It's not like his attorney thinks that, he doesn't have that. He does. His client is looking at going to prison for the rest of his life. That is a reality. If someone wants to minimize that, that's up to them. That's on them. But that's a reality. 32 felonies, 4 different victims. One of them is his sister. I've told you guys this before. I never had a case like that. I was in a very, very, very busy prosecutor's office in Detroit. I was in the special victims unit for sex crimes against children. I never had 4 coming up to testify against one person. So nothing's changed. The evidence is still there. The victims are still going to testify. And there are also witnesses that are going to be testifying. And some of those witnesses corroborate the stories of the victims. I've never had such evidence. So, and as I've told you, some of the witnesses have even talked to Tom and have said on posts that Tom has admitted to some of these things, some of these acts. That's the evidence. That's what's going forward to a trial. So while Tom might be out enjoying the holidays, Reckoning Day is coming. There is a jury trial date coming. It might not be till February, maybe not till March, maybe not till April, but it is coming. And nothing has changed in that regard. Perhaps something will change if more victims come forward. If more victims come forward, we could see a superseding indictment and more charges added, and then he would be arraigned again. That could happen. So I will continue to report on this. This is something that we are not going to let go. Justice has not been served yet. There is a community right now where Tom Keesee lives, where he's out in the public. Now, I get it. He's got that GPS. He's probably got provisions that he can't be around, outside of the house certain times, whatever. But that's a very concerning issue, that this person is out in that community and could potentially have access to people that are under the age of 13. Very troubling. And you've got the church that is run by his mother and father that still have people coming to that church. And remember, they gave kids bracelets saying Team Tom. That's what's coming out of that church. There's a lot of allegations swirling around that whole area. But I'm going to be at that trial, whether it's February, March, April. I'm going to be at that trial. I'll be reporting because mainstream media hasn't caught on to this case, and we're not going to let it go. He's gotten away with this for decades. And now that the victims have come forward and there are charges, this is going to go to trial. I do not anticipate that there's going to be a plea deal. My opinion, this is my opinion. I anticipate that Tom's going to fight this. Bizarre, but that's what it appears to look like right now. And so once we have another update, if there's other items that get filed on the docket, I'll talk about that. But if not, I'm looking forward to that December 29th hearing, and I'll report to you as soon as I can. I'm hoping that same day, but it might not be until the next day, depending on how I feel. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say. What do you think about Tom getting out and about this hearing coming up? But stay tuned for tomorrow. I am going to have a video on Joshua Brown. That video came out on the Julie Roy's Report YouTube channel that came out last night. I've watched it once. If you guys know me, you know I have to watch things at least twice. I have to process it. And I really want to go through that because I think it's important to do. And there's a lot of things that I have to say about it. So stay tuned for that because I plan on getting that video out tomorrow. So I will see you soon.